I'm even wearing this jumper. Oh, we're live now. Hey, hi all, thanks for joining. My name is Brian. I'm a member of the Bitcoin Association. And a little bit of context of who the Bitcoin Association, what we do is that we were founded in 2012. We exist to be a reliable, trusted, and accessible resource for the local and international Bitcoin community. Some of our earliest members were now members of the organizations such as OSL, BitMEX, and Kinetic Capital. We hope that this association will be able to help individuals or corporations that want to set up businesses in Hong Kong, so we can hopefully aim to create new jobs locally in Hong Kong as being a financial center. You're probably also wondering where I am. I'm actually at a place called Genesis Block in Wan Chai. Genesis Block is one of the premier OTC establishments founded in 2017. They're focused on community building, education, and trading. If you have any questions and you want to come visit their place, they are on 269 Hennessy Road, or you can always follow them on Twitter, which is at Genesis Block Hong Kong. Now, back to the main talk for today is that we actually have a very, very special guest, which I will be introducing very soon. With today being June 30th, 2020, which is the last day of this month, of this quarter, a lot of interesting developments are happening, but what we're going to try and focus on today is more about trying to realize what talent we have in Hong Kong, what we might be able to do to help maybe create jobs or maybe promote Hong Kong as being a financial center, and also identify individuals that are using Hong Kong as a base to maybe set up their businesses. So it's actually kind of my attention, and I was really surprised to actually find out that Michael Gu from Boxmining is based in Hong Kong. He's been in this space for a long time. I've actually been following him, and when I found out that he's here, I'm thinking, this is episode 4. Is there a way that we can have such talent to try and connect with him, understand his story about the past, the present, and the future? So without further ado, here's another treat. He's actually here in this room right now. So I'm gonna give him a clap. Michael, thank you for joining.
Hey, what is up, Brian? And what is up, internet? So I've been actually just secretly watching the stream in the background, but Brian, thank you so much for bringing me on this live stream. And man, like, I've been hearing that, and I think it's just so great that you're doing this for Hong Kong. I think that's just somewhat important. I mean, especially right now. I mean, I don't ever go into politics on my channel, but I think Hong Kong, the game's not over. I think we're gonna be fighting, and people like him, like Brian, he's gonna be at the forefront of fighting forward, just making opportunities for people here in Hong Kong. And I think this is something that I think I definitely feel like you're just such a hero, man. It's like, I really appreciate doing this. And also, I've just realized I have my tea here. So, anyways, welcome to the channel, guys. I think it's my weirdest time because I'm so used to being a host,
Yeah.
but you know, I'm a guest for once, and I'll have a chance to tell my story, which is great. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. I mean, it's truly humbling to have the opportunity to have you over here. I mean, again, the purpose of today is not to talk about politics. We just want to be able to identify talent that has decided to set up their headquarters here in Hong Kong, because I think the city has a lot to offer. With unemployment being the highest in the last 15 years, is there something that we can do to capture these stories and these moments to maybe invite more people to maybe come back to Hong Kong? So with the theme of the origins, the present moment, and also the future, I've been following you on Twitter, I've been following you on your YouTube channel, but for those of us who are maybe new that haven't heard of you before, maybe we can start with a bit of an introduction of a background of who is Michael Gu?
Awesome. So I have a long history. I'll start with the recent one. I've been creating cryptocurrency videos on a channel called Boxmining. It's pretty well received. We got over 200,000 subscribers right now, so that's kind of good. We passed that milestone of the 100K a few years ago. But we've been building this very strong community about understanding what is blockchain, what is cryptocurrencies, and really starting from the basics of just entering the space, explaining core concepts of mining, and even beyond mining, like staking, Ethereum, everything. We cover that basics, and it's all about understanding what is escape. It's all about education. So I started this off almost 4 years ago in 2016. At that time, there was virtually no one talking about crypto, so I think I was lucky there. But also, I feel like it was one of those passion projects that really took off, and I'm really grateful that it did take off so well. And something that's interesting is that this, speaking about jobs, about employment, etc., this gave me a lot of opportunities, obviously, to explore the cryptocurrency space, for which I'm very, very grateful of. I'm both a content creator and an investor in the space. I've luckily been involved in investing in cryptocurrencies since, I would say, starting in 2012. I'll cover that in a sec. So I started off in 2012. There were mistakes I made, which I shared on my channel, and we got really good. And we were in since 2016, which meant, I'm pretty lucky to be in this space.
Just before the bull run.
So yeah, I did get in just before the bull run. So the portfolio did extremely well, which gave me the opportunity to pursue YouTube and trading full time and investing full time, which is something that I feel like not many people my age want to do, surprisingly. I mean, I'm like past my 30s right now, and something that I do have to say is like not many people my age think about pursuing YouTube. But I think what's important here is that we have the opportunity to do so. There is something in the back, so I'm just there's a little bit of sound in the back. I'm gonna try to fix that for you right there. Okay, that's fine now. But anyway, so I feel like that's an opportunity to discuss something that's not very traditionally done in Hong Kong. I think Hong Kong, we revolved around banking, doctors, lawyers, pretty much the traditional, Asian parents stereotypes, tropes for a long time. And I feel like being a content creator in this space, I definitely want to talk about my experiences going into being a content creator and being also an investor in this space. And I think something we discussed prior to this is how current box mining, like I made a few drastic turns. I think that was one of the focuses of this video, is how I kind of make a few drastic turns on my career paths that led me here. So
yeah, I think that there's be plenty of time to talk more about the box mining, the present, future, and the future element. But I'm also curious to understand more about yourself. You shared a little bit more of how you got into this space. It was an accident almost, which turned out to be a really good accident because you've been doing this for 4 years. You're going to share some exciting new projects that you're working on. But in terms of who you are and how you got into this space, with Hong Kong still being a place where, as you mentioned, some pillar industries are maybe the finance space, there could be real estate, there could be medicine, which are very traditional. The space that you're entering now it's still new. It's not someone who's coming out of school might say, I want to be a content creator, I want to try this something new. But with unemployment, unfortunately, being at its highest at this moment, this could be an alternative route for someone who is looking to branch out and try something new as a new career. And the great thing about this is it's borderless.
Yes.
You can be in Hong Kong, you've got somebody anywhere, anytime, just dialing in and saying, what's Michael Gu talking about today that I'm watching 2 years from now, which actually happened to me with one of your videos. If maybe I can understand more about the technical backgrounds that you have, because this is the 4th video that we're having. You can possibly see the significant difference in terms of the quality of the sound, the lighting, the video, the background, because of the background work that has been put into trying to create this. For someone who's just starting out, this was a little bit overwhelming because I didn't know about all the production that you need to have, the lighting that we have, we're doing the backdrop. I think that with your background, did you come with a movie background, a cinematic background, editing background, or like?
No, none of that. I came with a full science background. So I was actually doing a PhD in chemistry. So like that was like a totally completely different career path that I really started out. So that my background is, I have a master in science, and there was a point when I wanted to do a PhD. I wanted to be, I want to save the world, right? I think it's one of those kind of cliche moments I had. I was like, okay, look, I want to work on drug discovery. I wanted to save the world in that way. But at the same time, it was a little bit like, oh, John, can you see what's happening with the volume over there? Did you see like, so I'm just seeing if like, oh, okay, right. Okay, it's okay. We're okay. So there's just a little bit of sound. I'm just trying to make this sound better. If you guys have any comments also, that's why my phone is here. I'm not trying to browse videos. I'm actually trying to view the stream to make sure that everything is good on here. And I want to see with the live chat. So make sure, guys, we do see you on the live chat. That's why I'm gonna have my phone here to open it up to answer some questions as well for live chat. But anyways, yeah, long story cut short, I didn't have any cinematic background. So when I started, it was a little bit overwhelming to actually suddenly start YouTube. So there were few transition points in my life, which, I mean, looking back at it now, it seemed so natural for me to take it. But I feel like in the start, my background was science, so obviously chemistry, mixing stuff together, doing stuff like there. But also after that, I transitioned into making video games, so being a game designer and creating video game content. So in that sense, none of this was related to making videos, right?
Wait. Sorry, you were a master's chemistry student, so you were mixing chemicals, and then you somehow transitioned to YouTube. Like, were you making chemical reactions, chemical projects for YouTube, or how did that transition work?
Well, so here's the deal, right? So at the very start, at 2012, I was a PhD student. So I wanted to get a full PhD. I want to be a doctor in chemistry, right? So being a professor, that sounds like cool. You know, you get some cool vacations. You got to do some research as well. You know, like
Dr. Michael.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And most of my friends now are actually like from that path. They're all doctors. They're teaching right now. They're professors in their own right. And I'm really glad that they're the way they are. And the craziest part was that I was actually 4 years into my PhD. So that's actually very deep. In Canada, the PhDs are a little bit longer. So I was studying in Canada, and then the PhD there, it could take 5-6 years depending on how your progress is going. But for me, I felt like I was like probably 3/4 the way through. And then I said, you know what? Yeah, speaking back on it, it seems like a lot, right? Speaking back on it, you're just like, oh, look, I felt like this path wasn't the right path for me. Yeah. And then I left that path to pursue something completely different. And at that time, I mean, doing something like this is extremely hard. I feel like, you know, pursuing new options, you always feel like, sometimes you feel like if you're making the right decision, sometimes you feel like you're past the point of no return.
But when I think about when I was in college, I'm like, I need to graduate within 4 years' time because I don't want to be the kid that has to stay a little bit longer. I'm not really passionate about what I'm studying, but I just need to pass it so that I can get the degree and I can start working and do something else. And you went past an undergraduate degree, you went on top to get a master's degree, and after a master's degree, you even look for almost a PhD.
Yes, yep.
So that journey doesn't just start from the beginning where it says I'm gonna kind of just feel my way. It's almost like in high school or even younger, you're already thinking, I kind of want to look up and approach this path. And now that you've finished so many years of schooling, you're at your PhD, I can't even begin to imagine the pressure that you must have been going through because you're at that crossroads. Do I keep going into something that I've thought all my life that I should go to? Or there's this other unknown path that might lead to something, but I don't know. How did you identify which route you wanted to take? Because there's always a safer option.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like for a long period of time, I was constantly trying to look for the safest option possible, but not the best option. And I feel like that was a big turning point in my life. I felt like, thankfully, I mean, I'm very thankful for all these events, right? So I don't regret leaving a PhD. I don't regret ever starting a PhD. I mean, all these things is part of a learning experience. But during that learning experience, you kind of realize that you have skills for other aspects. So one of the biggest aspects was socializing, actually. So I actually started socializing quite a lot during my PhD. I thought I can just study and be smart, and that's good, right? But not just that, but I felt like once I started this PhD, I felt like there were people who were very aggressive pursuing, you know, connections, making deals. I didn't even know that was possible. Apparently, you need to start making deals with other researchers to get some good papers published. I'm like, whoa, shit, I didn't know that. So I started developing these skills, and I realized, okay, look, now that I got these skills, I can actually use this better in another environment. Because the best, I mean, if you start socializing as a scientist and you make friends and you start publishing papers, the best you can get is a paper, right? But in real life, if you start socializing and you start making deals, you can start a business and you can start, really pushing and start making money, right? I mean, everyone likes money, and that's important. I mean, sure, there was, so that was I felt like there was a lot learned during that PhD phase. I started learning all these skills and abilities. I also analytical skills of how to analyze a particular situation, having the ability to research something in detail, and that was really crucial when I started crypto as well, because you're not intimidated by all that language of like, I don't have a computer science background, but I can sure well say, look, I know how to research down deep and understand what a Merkle tree is, what these blocks are doing. Like, I don't mind getting into that level of detail, and I think
brains.
well, it's because like you're conditioned to do so, right? So I feel like that was what I learned from it, and then at year 4, I kind of said, you know what, I feel like I was on the right path. And that was when I decided, you know what, I wanted to leave that path that was safe and familiar, and something that I kind of comforted myself and said, you know what, if it doesn't work out, I can always go back.
Right.
But the problem was that because I was getting older, you can't always just jump and want to do a startup or want to create your own stuff. You have a time period for that, right? Especially when you're younger, you have more energy, you can work like crazy number of hours. You don't have any obligations. I mean, imagine starting a business when you have kids and you have like, when you have people who depend on you, then you have to play the safe path. But at that age, I think it was 27, 28, I felt like, okay, look, I'm still there. I still can aggressively do something for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And yeah, that's when I said, you know what, I definitely needed to leave that path that I was on and try something that's completely new. So that was actually when I jumped not into crypto. All right, I wish I jumped in crypto. So that was 2012. If I jumped into crypto, I think I'll be in a whole new level by now. But I actually jumped into video games. So interesting enough, some of the side stories. I was a very, very big gamer, and I understood game economics very well. So in-game part of like video games like Diablo 3 or World of Warcraft, I understood those mechanics very, very well. And I was able to make a good living even during my PhD by selling not crypto assets, but digital assets in video games. So that's kind of like a bridging everything together. So also at that time, I was a very big gamer. So you can actually like 2 games, World of Warcraft and Diablo 3. You can make a lot of money with it at that time. So like the peak at that time, I think was like $2,000-$3,000, a little bit more if you go into trading per month, US dollars.
And that's on the side whilst
on
you're
the side.
having. Whoa.
Yeah. So that was fun. And I was doing some aggressive stuff. It was all related to digital currency and also with botting. So you can have a computer play these games for you, and they'll be like going there, chopping down monsters, picking up that gold, and then you can sell that gold for real money. And you can sell the armor for real money, and that was great. Diablo 3 release was like, it was perfect for that. So kind of related to this and kind of related, tying everything together, like this is the fabric of life, right? Not everything appeared at the same time, but tying to that was when I discovered Bitcoin as well. So it was all the way in 2012, when those computers were not being used to kill monsters in Diablo 3, they were used to mine Bitcoin. I mean, that's how crazy it was. It was possible for just a random student to click a button and start mining Bitcoin on their computers back in 2012. That was kind of how everything started. That's why a lot of original, very OG miners were very big gamers as well, because their gaming PCs could earn you Bitcoin. And at that time, like per day, I was earning 0.3 Bitcoin. Ooh. It sounds like a lot today, right? I'm like, shit, that's a lot. But back then, at $10 for Bitcoin, it's only 30-something cents. So like, this is in many senses a lesson of never underestimating these little small things in life, right? So the big things in life, it was chemistry, it was about researching, it was about making synthesis, like that was hardcore. But the small things in my life, video games, small things like Bitcoin. So I took that chance and I jumped into video games. So I should have jumped into the other small thing, which was Bitcoin, but I jumped into video games because I saw an opportunity there. So I had a friend that was making a video game, and he knew I understood economics of video games very well, and I worked on the economic side of game development and I also helped him start his Shenzhen branch of his office. So being bilingual, I can start speaking both English, Mandarin. I started the entire office there, and I was like, that was like for me that was a push. That was the opportunity of a lifetime. Not only do I get to leave chemistry, but I get to start something very cool, startup space, like get responsibilities. You get to learn really, really fast about how the business works. And I jumped full deep into gaming, like really hardcore. I started immediately having to go to conferences and trying to find ways to promote that video game, try to launch on various platforms, getting deals to get on platforms, and that was like hardcore for like 4 years almost.
It sounds like everything that you're doing, you kind of fell into it, but it all originated from just your interest.
Yeah.
You were interested in gaming whilst you had your full-time commitment at school, and then through gaming you were able to trade, you were able to make $2,000 to $3,000 US dollars on the side.
Yeah.
And then through that small hobby you tried something else.
Yeah.
And then now you're in this place.
Yeah, and that's when I discovered Bitcoin, and like all these like gifts in life came from exploring and being able to just be more open-minded to new assets and everything. And I mean that's the kind of the moral of the story almost. So going from gaming to crypto, just completing that story there. So I was doing gaming stuff, and it was during the gaming time I bought my first streaming setup. In fact, this exact microphone here, this is the first one I bought. This is like the most professional one I saw, and I was like, I bought it with my own money, right? At that time it was like $1,600 in Hong Kong. Sentimental. This is like a Hong Kong dollars. I feel so short next to you. That's because my chair is smaller. But
you want to switch?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
This one has a harder base.
It's okay. I like my nice cushy chair. But so this is the first one, and I committed to that. I bought it with my own money. I said, you know what? I'm gonna try to make some YouTube videos. It's also a side hobby, side passion. I can do two things with it. One was to create content for my own video game, kind of let people follow the development process. It was pretty popular at the time. Yeah. The other was I can make my own videos, and my own videos turned out to be box mining videos, cryptocurrency, crypto related videos. It was just sharing my passion with people. Yeah. Right. And I can tell you, it wasn't easy to start off. It wasn't like success from day one. Going from 0 to 1,000 was hard, but I feel like it's something that gradually built up, and the community was very welcoming. Like you start that one-to-one interaction. I don't care how many people watch, right? So long as people start commenting and there's eventually some form of communication and building community. And the community helped me a lot to understand what was happening in the whole cryptocurrency space. So that's kind of linking together from my PhD to the gaming to starting making videos and just experimenting with these videos. And then the videos really took off. I think it was early 2017. It really took off when crypto took off, and it was just like whoosh.
It sounds like a few things led to that.
Yes.
It's gotta be, you gotta have passion. And that passion it's not just a short-term thing. You have to consistently do that. And the second, consistency on how to make it a continuous process. It's got to be self-sustainable. You saw that you were being given an opportunity to earn money, to do something that you liked, that you then eventually wanted to get better at, and then you were able to then sharpen that skill by finding a community where you could fit in.
Kinda. I mean, let's be honest here. Beginning of YouTube, there's no money. Let's be very, very honest here. Yeah, it's not as like it's definitely not Diablo 3 or World of Warcraft gold farming. That was money. All right, this is more like passion, and you have like, oh yes, I reached 1,000 people. I feel so much happier inside. It was not like I reached 1,000 people, now I get $1,000. No, that's like you get like cents, right? That's how much YouTube pays you. But I think it was the education, like being able to at that time was very much propelled by crypto investments as well. Like investments took off, obviously, which is great. And obviously having that community, having people were also very generous as well. I remember the first time someone donated $50 to me, I'm like,
you probably framed it somewhere.
Oh shit, oh my god. Oh my god. I mean, it was a harsh life getting started, but I think I can share that with you right now because you're getting started. And Just responding to some comments. There's George Harp says, "Good discussion, guys. There's a thought: Bitcoin options. Will you see the mega boom of futures trading that's been seen for the last 2 years?" Well, that's a
deep question.
that's a deep
George.
question. That's a deep question, George. We'll get that in Q&A. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. By the way, I know we're a bit slow reading on comments, and we didn't really advertise this too well. I will do better advertising for you guys, for you, Brian.
My bad.
But we managed to pull this together at the end, and I'm advertising Hong Kong. There's a Hong Kong drink right here. If you understand, like, I don't know, oolong tea is, especially Vita tea, it's like a very classic Hong Kong thing.
Yeah, we'll get back to the Hong Kong element this moment, because we don't have a lot of time, even though we kind of do.
You have infinite time.
It's all about the origins, the present, and the future, because there's two main goals for today. One of them is we want to capture your unique story. The second one is really about Hong Kong. Hong Kong's gone through so much. We don't need to repeat all of that. But if we have talent in Hong Kong, is there other talent that could be attracted to come back to Hong Kong? Is there another way that maybe we can elevate the existing businesses to just promote Hong Kong as a great place to be? And it's still a financial city and financial hub, but could it be a crypto hub? Could it be a Bitcoin hub? We don't know. Yeah. But with talent here, where we've talked about how your origins came about, if maybe we can also focus a little bit more on minimizing the risk, because with so much chaos going on, it's really hard to get started. The monetary aspect when you first start is not the easiest, but let's say that if we looked at it from two angles. The first angle is, if you're in a similar situation, you're a student that maybe is going through a PhD, and you're thinking, everything I've done up to this moment is what I wanted to do, but my heart's not into it. How do I try and find out what my passion is to dabble in it with the least amount of risk? And the second part is, if somebody was regretfully or unfortunately impacted because of the whole situation right now, is there some way that maybe they can earn a few bucks, or a way to maybe self-sustain in a shorter term to try and minimize that risk and accelerate that process of finding their passion faster?
Really good question, Brian. So first, let's deal with the risk issue, right? So I feel like I took a huge amount of risk when I left my PhD, but at the same time, if you think about it, it was all leading up. There were step ladders along the way. It wasn't very a sudden transition, I would say. Like, it sounds like a sudden transition on paper. Oh my God, this guy with, like, you know, this chemist with so many years experience in chemistry suddenly jumped to gaming. But because I was a gamer, because I was not just playing video games, but I was making money off video games, I think that's a very key difference. When you start making money, and when you start thinking of digital currency trading as a business, that already minimizes a lot of your risk, because you already started gaining your experience from there onwards. So even in 2012, I was already making deals about sourcing where I can source different coins for cheap, and changing markets to find out where I can sell them to different markets. I was trying to understand the risks of running such a business. I was also calculating back end, because it wasn't just like roses every day collecting coins off the ground farming monsters. I was actually getting bans from Blizzard. I was calculating the cost, how much it costs to replace these machines or bots versus how much I'm investing, how much I'm getting. So you minimize risk by dabbling into a hobby or into something you're passionate about in your spare time. So at that time, when I was full-time into playing video games, sure, I was playing, but in terms of working, it was a lot of work. I mean, weekends, like, you can just say kiss goodbye to watching TV on weekends. You gotta do something active. I'll be like on Skype 24 hours literally. Like, you'll be in the middle of the night, you'll be finding a good deal or something, and you just jump on that deal, right? So you don't really sleep.
But did it feel like work?
No, because it's something I liked as well. Okay, so I guess that's the good thing about finding something that's you're passionate about and can make money. That's really hard. Something passion plus money. It's harder. And for me, it was for video games. But I mean, for everyone else, I'm sure I've even talked to other people who like collecting handbags. You know, like those like Gucci or Hermes. And
Remember his Birkin alligator skin.
yes, yes. Like you have a passion, but you go really deep into that passion. You find a way to make it profitable, and you can do that in your spare time. So once you actually start doing that in your spare time, you already start developing how to make this into a business, and what are your kind of profits gonna be like, and you can start projecting that. So I think going forward, for anyone who wants to switch profession, it won't be as sudden if you've already have a passion, if you've already, like, I think it's a very famous quote, I think it's Malcolm Gladwell who said, to be an expert at something, you need 10,000 hours. So you need to start building that 10,000 hours ASAP. So getting the experience there, and also being conscious of the money side of things. So not only the passion. The other very classic quote which I learned from the video game space is that everything you do has to be 50-50 monetization and passion. Like every time you develop a feature, every time you release something, it must be 50% monetized. That's generally something you should start thinking about. You probably don't have to be so aggressive. Chinese people are much more aggressive with monetization, but you got to think about in the future. Okay, am I going to solicit just for donations? Am I going to look for sponsors? Am I going to sell currency? What's the market like for that currency? You got to be very aware of everything going forward before you jump full time into a hobby, because otherwise, yeah, that's going to be a huge amount of risk.
It sounds like there's two things that I wanted to share that just came to my mind. One of them was trying to understand what your burn rate is. If you can understand and calculate what your costs are, how much you're spending on a daily basis, what your rent is, how much you're spending on food or entertainment, and then trying to run that out over a period of time. You can say, I can maybe try this new hobby out for 3 months or 6 months because this is my expected burn rate with a little bit of savings. And that might help minimize the risk if you want to try something adventurous. The second idea that came to my mind is Hong Kong was built on having 4 pillars: logistics, retail, real estate, and finance. And I remember servicing 2 companies based in Hong Kong. It was dealing with remote control airplanes and model cars, and I'm thinking, wait, Hong Kong is still right next to Factory of the World. Is there maybe an e-commerce store that these 2 hobby companies that started out small, distributing these online, to all of a sudden building it into having over 1,000 different types of RC control planes? I think it's called RC Mart or Hobby King.
Hobby King, yeah. There's so many things that started in Hong Kong, man. It's like, I think like in Hong Kong, I hate to blame Asian parents, right? But we've all had Asian parents where they're like doctor, accountant, lawyer, what else is it? Banker. It's like, you gotta pursue these and never look elsewhere. I think that's one way to do it, and I'm absolutely happy that it worked out for a lot of people, but it doesn't work for everyone. And I think it's like, I think that's what Hong Kong kind of needs right now, to not just stay on those 4 pillars. I feel like, finances can change, the world can shift so quickly. You gotta have a pool of innovation, because that pool of innovation will help you adapt and transition to something else. So anyways, for anyone watching this in Hong Kong, I know there's a lot of Hong Kong people, and even George who commented, George Harapi, he's an entrepreneur here. He's been solving problems, and I feel like that's kind of core. There's not enough entrepreneurs in Hong Kong, and I feel like that's a kind of a side product of having so many Asian parents, drilling it into our heads. Oh my God, when are you gonna grow up and become a banker, doctor, or whatnot, right? That's what I kind of felt like when I first started, like a little bit, where you feel like you don't get the respect that you get, oh, if you're a doctor, I could have became a doctor, I think. I just didn't like seeing blood.
On that, I don't like seeing blood. Well, that's
a big problem, right? Because doctors need good chemistry, right? So like my grades were like amazing for chemistry. I had like all that stuff that I could have gone to med school. Like there was no problem there, but I was just like, you know what? I hate blood. I hate looking at people being injured. Like Like no matter how I looked at it, it just wasn't for me, man. Like even when I injure myself, I have a scar here. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to see that. Ugh, that's gross. Ugh, yuck. Yeah, you know, like that's not for me, right? No matter how much. And the other one, dentist. I mean, why would I want to look at someone's mouth all day, man? Like, dude, Brian, let me check your mouth for a sec.
I think on that point is, if we look at LinkedIn, 3 out of 5, 60% of the last, if we did a quick scan, in the last 3 to 5 years, 60% of the jobs didn't exist 5-10 years ago. So even though traditional Asian parents are saying get really good grades, then go to really good school, graduate, go to banking, finance, law, whatever all the other traditional industries are, 10 years from now, that might not be a profession that might exist anymore. So I think the main thing that I wanted to capture for the origins of how you kind of fell into this space was nobody can predict tomorrow, let alone what next week, next month is going to look like. Your particular case was you identified how to minimize the risk, and you did that by just finding something you were very interested in. You weren't so much caring about the money. It was important, but it was about just having fun along the way, minimizing the risk, having enough to just keep testing and keep trying. And that, I think, is a good summary of the first part, which is the origins of who you are, where you came from.
And don't be afraid to try new things. Like, do I know anything about making videos? Hell no. Like, I started off not knowing anything, right? I got this and I used a webcam. Like, that's cool. Like, I thought, oh, this is a cool piece of gear. I saw this Rode mic. I read up about it. You know, read a few articles. You buy it. You try it. Not very expensive, right? You think about it, $1,600. It's to start a career.
Hong Kong or US?
Hong Kong, man. It's like that's literally $200. And we just have
a lot.
We have a comment from George Harrop that says HK as a deal making hub, deals as a service.
Is that your next venture that you're starting, George?
But yeah, man, dude, like it is true. Hong Kong is like the place to find deals, and I think that's great. But I think there is definitely that issue where, like, what about all the newbies who aren't so good at making deals, right? You know, like, you need to be able to transition here somehow. So I feel like, yeah, I'll be interested in your story as well, George. I think
maybe I gotta get you next, George. But I know that time is going by very quickly. 45 minutes is already elapsed, and we've just talked about the origins. So I'm keen to also know about the current, because now that we've talked about what you think helped get you where you are and hopefully inspire individuals to try and test, tell me more about Boxmining, the platform that you use that's helping you to get to where you are now. What is Boxmining? Why does it exist?
That's a good question, man. And this is I get asked this a lot. So a lot of people are like, oh, what's your next thing, or how are you going to try to monetize Boxmining more? And Boxmining for me has always been a hobby. So it started off as a hobby, and I want to keep a lot of that hobby spirit into Boxmining. So it's always about producing videos that I'm passionate about, like topics that I like to talk about. So there's still a lot of personal element in that, where you know, if I'm not interested in X, Y, and Z, you know, sorry, I'll love to cover it, I'll mention it, but I can't fake enthusiasm. I think the internet, they can detect when you're genuine and you're not, right? And sometimes I don't like something, but I kept Boxmining very much me and my community, and I try to explore what the community and try to approach it with a personal style. So I felt like that's kind of always worked throughout. There are two aspects I'm doing right now. So one is cryptocurrency investing. So I think I don't talk too much about my investing side. I always try to tell people why I do what I do, or the theory behind everything, rather than saying, oh look guys, I just invested like 20K into X, Y, and Z coin, buy that, pump it, and go. I feel like that's the wrong strategy to take in crypto. I've always tried to take the philosophy, okay, look, understand what you're trying to get into. Here's what's good. Here's the tech. You know, understand it at a deeper level, and then you have an advantage. That's kind of the advantage of Boxmining. So we've been doing that. We've been covering DeFi. We've been covering Ethereum 2.0. We're doing more coins. We're doing lives every Monday and Friday. So very much continuation of that. Personally, on my side, I've been investing quite a bit. And also I've been looking at Hong Kong. So I've been taking up these new events, like talking with Brian here, trying to kind of focus a lot on Hong Kong and helping push Hong Kong. Even here in Genesis Block, I think these guys have been doing a great job pushing local adoption in Bitcoin in Hong Kong, providing buying, selling Bitcoins as a service, and I think that's important. And they've been very grateful, so I'm trying to find a time to kind of help them back as well. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I feel like it's one of those situations where expanding what I know, not just videos, but expanding what's currently happening with this community. That's my way forward.
On that topic of the current and how you're investing and promoting opportunities that sometimes go sour does invite undesired attention as well. I know that on the online community, sometimes there are ill intentions because of maybe misunderstandings in place. Are you maybe comfortable explaining some misunderstandings that might have happened because of...
Yeah, YouTube's full of drama. I mean, I love the way you phrased it. It's so politely. I mean, there's always going to be a lot of drama, right? Everyone's like, oh, this guy's a scam, that mine's a scam, Boxmining's a scam. I felt like there was a lot of motives in the past few years, obviously, to try to discredit what I do. And it just happened. I mean, for me at first, it was very hard to understand that. I mean, like, dude, I did what I did, and I think, you know, I've represented everything to the best of my abilities, right? And being as broad and general and kind of helpful as possible. But it was kind of funny. There was one incident where it was actually with Chico Crypto. Actually, it took me way out of context. It was kind of funny, not really funny, but kind of infuriating, but I'm over it now. But it was a time when he actually said that I was into a particular project at that time, being BTT. It was a project launched on the Tron platform on a Binance Launchpad. And he claimed by taking a 10 segment of me talking, totally out of context, to say that I'm pro BTT and I'm trying to shield this project, when in fact the entire video was about me saying the risk associated and why it didn't work. I actually like on that video, even with the image of the video, the thumbnail, it was like a BTT with a fire, like a dumpster truck fire. So I didn't like it, but I was taken out of context to say I like it. And that was kind of one of the turning points when I said you gotta ignore all the haters. Like it was pretty abundantly clear what the video was about. I think there was no way to misinterpret to say that I was promoting it. But there was obviously going to be segments, if you take a 10-minute segment, that can make you be portrayed in any other way. So that was kind of an interesting event where it was a turning point for me when I started thinking, you know what, I shouldn't care about what other people think about me, but I should just constantly push what is right. And that's the most important.
What this might be a very deep question, but the definition of right is so opaque in this day and age. When you mentioned somebody was able to twist your story when you said one token was equivalent to a dumpster, and then he twisted to say that you are promoting this coin.
How is that possible? I don't understand. But anyways, go watch it. It's on YouTube. It's great. But
like, how do you define what's right? And there's one song that is totally off topic, totally random, but it's called "Am I Wrong?" and it was shared to me by a pretty successful entrepreneur in the FMCG space. He says it's quite lonely at the top because you're constantly doubting whether what you see as a vision is going to actually be accepted and caught on. With your messages that you're constantly showing, and you have some malicious actors who might be misunderstanding you or twisting things around, how do you have that moral compass to suddenly understand and say, I know that this is right in my heart?
I think that's a really deep question. I think two things. First of all, I try not to overthink things, I guess, at a certain point. I mean, I feel like setting a particular scenario that I'm happy with is important. So I feel like there was a phase when I started, you know, thinking like what's right, what's wrong, and it got way too deep, and you actually don't feel very happy as a person, right? So when you overthink things, when you overcomplicate things, it gets pretty messy, especially when it comes to politics. That's why on my channel I'm like, just no more politics, like no more politics. I don't care which side you're on. I'm just don't discuss it here. But I think in terms of the moral compass is not to overthink it and to just do what makes you happy. It's weird. Like you approach a point where like you've actually developed that over time. It's very hard to explain, but like not meditate on it, but like at the end of the day, when you go to bed, you know, are you happy or are you unhappy? And if you're happy, great, keep doing what you're doing. If you're unhappy, you know, be better. And I think that's the least deep way of answering a very deep question.
That just reminded me of another white paper that I read. So I'm not sure if you heard of a company called Hitachi. They've got like 800 different companies. They've got refrigerators,
Hitachi,
aircons.
right?
Yeah, Hitachi.
Yeah.
But they had a white paper release that tried to formulate what happiness was. And the formula was happiness is equal to the diversity of motion. So if you're sitting too long, walk around. If you are walking too much, then just jump around or just try and change your motion. And that is supposed to result to happiness. And they were doing that with a few different types of tracking methods. So that was just like a totally random thought that just came to my mind.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I think it's different from everyone else. I mean, it's kind of interesting. So last year I spent a lot of time traveling. That was one of my like checklists. Like I want to do, you know, like I had the opportunity to do so. I traveled a bit. I was in Bali for some time, and like over there it's very spiritual, right? So you go to Ubud, and you know there's a lot of these spiritual gatherings and stuff. And I think, you know what, like that's kind of like it works sometimes. You know, like it's hard to say because I think I'm the least spiritual person you expect. You know, being a scientist, I'm like A plus B equals to C, right? Or 1 + 1 is 2, and that's the rule.
Not 11.
And then, or like happy. Like, I don't know, something like you can maybe the science of chemistry, right? That's interesting to me. But I think, not going too deep, but I think there's always a thing about release. I think it was kind of funny. And what they do is there's these ecstatic dances, where you just like do whatever you want. You just don't care what everyone's doing around you. You can do whatever you want and, you know, just like shout and chant and whatever. And that actually makes people really happy.
Yeah.
So it really depends on how you define it. I was open to exploring some crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you kind of come back and you feel like, okay, you know, yeah, I'm happy. I'm feeling glad. Got sunshine in a bag.
I think on that topic of going to a different place to experience diversity of motion in this case, I'm curious to understand, why are you headquartered in Hong Kong? Because there's so many other cities there. So many people are always looking to Singapore, or they're looking at going to North America or Europe, but what is so appealing about Hong Kong for you that attracts you to stay in this city?
Good question.
Because you can be anywhere.
Yeah,
you could be doing more of the motion in Bali or Indonesia.
I think, like, I mean, for this year, obviously, coronavirus meant that there's no traveling, and Hong Kong being a really safe place right now. I think, yeah, it's like
no mask, guys. Wear masks.
We're actually good. We're actually pretty good here. I think multiple reasons. I mean, there's still family reasons as well. Convenience, and also I think, like, yeah, multiple reasons. It's really hard to describe. I think it's like, yeah, quite a few.
Would you say that it's because of Hong Kong's attractiveness is still having a potential to be a strong business hub?
Don't know. I think it's possible. I mean, you can make deals here, but I definitely want to see more. I think that's the end consequence. I mean, you know, I definitely say Hong Kong could become bigger because, I mean, a lot of the major exchanges are here. There's just so much going on here. I feel like we barely scratched what Hong Kong can do. And, you know, there's constant talk about, you know, Singapore being great, like you just said, or other hubs. We can go States, or we can go to, I don't know, anywhere, right? Maybe UK or Germany. I think Hong Kong remains quite attractive for, there's still a lot of businesses around here, which is great. And also, I don't know, like I would want to say that the government provides a lot of help, but it doesn't. It's unfortunate that Hong Kong government doesn't really help incubate as much. I've had experience from the gaming space where like Shanghai and Shenzhen are like just crazy, right? Like Shanghai, if you're a good gaming company, they help you pay wages for your employees. It's insane. So I feel like Hong Kong can improve here, and in many ways, it's like people like you pushing that forward. I think it's important.
So, if there was an ask, if there was a way that maybe the government can help subsidize more or provide more soft dollars to maybe encourage people to come to Hong Kong, if you're purchasing computer equipment, for example, or even your $1,600 microphone in future, you're a rising talents. You need to alleviate some of that risk. Maybe if there's a rebate that you can have if you can pursue this for a while.
Something like that. I mean,
something practical.
I feel like it goes back to understanding, right? And I feel like that's the biggest problem with Hong Kong right now, where a lot of the guys are very good at admin, but they're not good at innovation. So it's just like, I remember us just joking back in the gaming days where we trying to start a gaming company in Hong Kong, and the person in charge of government investments in Hong Kong did not even own a smartphone. Like, how is that even logical? Like, gaming, smartphones, that was like the next biggest thing. If you don't even own a smartphone, you don't even understand what's happening, right? They're very good public servants, but they're not very good innovators. And I think that's the issue of Hong Kong right now in terms of government policy. Hong Kong government is loaded, and I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs here, and they're looking to Taiwan, they're looking to Shanghai, they're looking for Shenzhen for money to grow their project, or for government investments, or help connecting people with funds or with money or whatnot. And Hong Kong government is actually richer than the Taiwanese government. It's richer than a lot of these other major cities, but Hong Kong government doesn't know where to invest. And I think this is the biggest problem. They need someone who actually understands innovation. And I think that's the core of it. I've been to the Hong Kong FinTech Association as well. Like, when I first started crypto, I went everywhere. So I first started crypto, I went to all the Hong Kong meetups, both in FinTech and in blockchain. And the problem I found with even the Hong Kong Blockchain Association was that people were more interested in deals than making products. So people just wanted fast money, right? They wanted to invest in something quick and dirty and get money out. And that was what the culture felt like. And it felt like they didn't have that much good talent, people who would really drive home a good product. And I feel like that's lacking in Hong Kong. I feel like my 2 cents. It's like, how do you develop people who are constantly good at innovating, who can deliver products on time? And I think that's what Hong Kong needs. Like, if we want to ever step into the blockchain space, I mean, heck, right now, I mean, Genesis Block is here. We got BitMEX is based here. We got FTX, which is based here. But how much support is the government offering? I think virtually nothing. So,
So I guess we don't exactly have a solution today, but one area that we've identified where there could be areas of improvement is, how do we build on Hong Kong's strengths? We've got very strong administrators. We've got good commercial environments. But one area that could be better is there an angle for innovators to be more connected with these startups that could grow? I mean,
I think so. That's culture change, and I think that'll be good.
Okay, thanks for sharing more on the Hong Kong angle of where there could be areas for improvement. I think another angle that we want to focus on for the current space is, as a content creator, sometimes you're obviously very facing dilemmas of, do I focus on having more depth, or do I focus more on content? For somebody that is new to this space, I'm very into your videos because they're short, they're catchy, it's succinct, but it gets the point across. And you've got mine that's much longer. It tries to go deeper into depth. But in terms of the insights that you might be able to share, there's obviously no right or wrong answer, but because you've been in this space testing out things a lot longer. What do you think is a way to maybe strike a balance of depth as well as content?
Really good question. And I think there's multiple approaches with it, and that's why YouTube algorithm is like king. All right, that's the one thing you learn about YouTube. So YouTube, they tell you how long your videos are viewed for, so you roughly know when people leave and exit and what people engage in, which is why I'm constantly glancing my phone, because usually I get a lot of comments and I have to kind of respond to comments and just try to answer people's questions, right? But obviously, one thing is that you need to be able to understand where you're going with a particular video. If you're not getting a 50 to 60% engagement, that means your content is too deep. So you sometimes strike a balance. Like sometimes I actually do want to go deep. I think sometimes like I don't really care about how many views a certain video has, as long as it pleases a certain portion of my audience and they watch it to its entirety. That's great. I don't really care too much about someone leaves, but I always have videos that come out every 1 or 2 weeks that are more general, that do have a high watch rate. So you're aiming for 50-60% watch rate. So, and you're aiming for videos that are 10 minutes longer. So that's a kind of general YouTube guideline. You don't want too long, obviously. You want high click rate on your thumbnails. You want longer than 10 minutes. You want 50% plus engagement. So that means people watching for more than 5 minutes. So you need to target content that's like that. So typically speaking, if you make a lot of videos, it will immediately start to understand, okay, this video didn't succeed very well because why? Because it was going too deep. And you can look at all those stats. So it's all about getting a feedback, I would say, about how it goes. If you want to make the best general video, but don't always make general videos. Have 1 or 2 videos that do really speak out, that you're passionate about, and people appreciate that. So it's always about finding that balance, but also finding the perfect kind of explainers to bring people in.
Change the format. Just keep testing. Okay.
Just change your format, keep testing, and look at results. It's always like YouTube algorithm. It's like that's the rules of the game, right? Love it or hate it, it's gonna dictate how you make content, and being able to analyze that is important.
On that point of wrapping up the second part of the 3-part series of the current aspect, you're looking at data, you're focusing on ways that you think will be able to connect most with your audience. What's next?
Good question. So this year I've been very much into kind of developing and making something of my own. Haven't fully kind of come up with the exact perfect concept yet, so I actually do want to kind of start off something that that can kind of push crypto forward, but at the same time that can grow by itself. That's not centered on me. So Boxmining has always been very centered on me, which is great. I mean, I love the platform for expression, but at the same time, I want something that's less reliant on me. So first of all, Boxmining.com, that's going to be providing information, and we're actually starting a team out to start building content that's not just what I like. There's actually more writers, it's more dynamic, it's more multiple viewpoints, and the team's already started working on that already. So Boxmining.com, and there's more projects in the future as well. But I've been trying to look more at helping Hong Kong startups, and also Boxmining.com is kind of my focus that I can discuss right now.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to see what else you'll be able to share. But I guess I'll have to keep watching your Twitter and your YouTube video.
Yes, there's some gaming stuff. So you know, you can start making some guesses there. But I definitely want crypto gaming to take off as well, and I've been working really hard to pave the way for that.
With your upcoming projects, with whoever is watching right now or in the future who might be able to help immediately or know of somebody that can maybe help you, is there anything that you're looking for in particular or to partner with?
Good programmers.
Good programmers.
Yeah.
What type of language do they need to know? Or because
I mean, programming language doesn't matter too much. It's about how they think. Like if they're active, if they're aggressive, and if they're. For me, I'm actually looking for someone who can aggressively look for readily available materials and just build up something fast. So like rapid. Someone who is interested or good at rapid prototyping, contact at boxmining.com and just send some send emails there, chat with me about that. I would love to have someone who's like smart, capable of making some good tech stuff, and
Do you need somebody who handles a database, or is it more just front end visuals?
Right now, full stack. So
Full stack?
yeah,
Okay.
full stack and resourceful.
Resourceful.
Yeah, that's a good word.
So anybody who's a programmer
And
who
is
is
resourceful,
contact Boxmining at contact at Boxmining.
contact at Boxminin.
at Boxmining.com.
That's right.
Got it. So thank you, Michael, for helping us understand the origins of how you got to where you are today. It was really interesting understanding more about the overcoming of challenges that you had, the way to minimize your risk by really just following your gut, not worrying about how you have to be profitable today, but you look more about how you can minimize your risk by having a cash flow assessment.
And definitely start working on the weekends. I mean, weekends are a great time. I mean, there were phases in my life where just like no TV, no video games, like just work. I mean, okay, unless video games just work, in which case you can justify it that way, but like no recreational video games. So you have to be like, you have to be like constantly making money. You have to be making like more than $20 an hour if you're playing a video game. Okay, then fine. That's like where
maybe
Minecraft don't get you that much money. No, it's gotta be like Diablo 3. You gotta have like 6 monitors open, and they've all gotta be chopping down monsters, and there's like a rate of money per hour. So it's gotta be over $20 per hour. Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Good insights. And then thanks for sharing more about what you're doing today.
Yep. Thank you, Brian. And thank you, Brian. And guys, you guys don't realize that I actually made Brian go into this whole YouTube streaming space. So I know it's a very different format from your usual Zoom chat. I know like Zoom chat, you said there's like a lot of people watching. I think not everyone's used to it so far, but I think I hope this works out for you. And
I think this is the way forward. I think the previous format is something that was, I guess, relatively easy because I had to use it for work. But now that you've been able to show me the difference in quality, the ease of use, lighting, the sound.
Yeah, you got 1080 live stream. Yeah. You almost go 4K. Yeah.
I think I've taken out much more of the time. Hopefully the audience is still here. There was a small technical issue, a few of them. One of them was that we might have sent the wrong link to a few people.
Oh no, it's okay.
Last minute wise, we try to push it all out on Twitter and on some of the other social media platforms. So
thank you guys so much for watching, guys. Subscribe, click the like. YouTube algorithm loves that.
I think George might have questions that I don't know if we addressed that.
Yeah, George addressed that. There was one discussion about Bitcoin options though.
That's a deep question, George.
Dude, and I think it's like the legality of that too. It's really like we're not lawyers here. I hope BitMEX stays alive. Fingers crossed with Bitcoin options.
Or the ask is, how can we identify opportunities for the Hong Kong government to really promote Hong Kong-based companies today, where they are creating jobs locally, where Hong Kong being a fintech center, can it also have space to be a crypto hub to really?
And I think George would be a perfect person to answer that question too. I mean, his experience with BitSpark and everything there, I think that's amazing. So I would definitely say, that's your number one guest for next episode, man.
Absolutely. George, you've been called out, so hopefully we're going to have you soon.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Michael. Thank you, everybody who's watching today or in the future very soon.
Cheers.
Thank you. Gonna click end stream.
End stream. Oh my god, it's so hot here too. We turned off all the fans. That's why we're sweating. It's like, like the fans are noisy. So anyways.
Oh, it's still live.
It's still live. You have to click this button here. All right. Boom.
Boom.
All right.